Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's Quick Byte webinar on Let's Get Social. We are so excited that you're here today to join us for our third webinar as part of our fall series, and look forward to sharing with you more about how you can grow your social media programs and make the most out of those channels. And without further ado, let me share the screen because we're running a minute behind. There we go. So without further ado, I'm going to pass you off to Joe and Lauren and let them introduce themselves.
Thanks, Elise. Hey, y'all. I'm Joe Fry. I'm a Senior Integrated Strategy Director here at TrueSense, and I oversee our strategy for our Ronald McDonald House Charities work, and then also for several of our independent accounts. And today I'm joined by Lauren. Go ahead. You can introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lauren. I am the Marketing and Communications Coordinator for Ronald McDonald House Charities of Southern California. So I handle all of our digital marketing, our emails, our social media specifically.
Great. Well, I'm excited to chat a little bit about social today, and also to have Lauren on because I think Ronald McDonald House Charities Southern California does a great job. And has been somebody that we've been able to collaborate with for a while now. So it's always a great time. I wanted to start today when we're thinking about social media, really by a poll and just to kind of understand where everybody online is at. And so I believe it's going to appear in the polls tab. But if you don't mind dropping in what channels you're currently using, that would be great. And while you're doing that, I'll give a little bit of an overview for today. We are going to start by talking about why use social media in the first place, and some of the stats and some of the ways that people are using it. Then we're going to dig in a little bit to how to get social media right and look at some examples kind of across the board. And then Lauren's going to dig a little bit deeper into what SoCal is doing and some of the things that they have really found engaging. So looking at some poll results, I see there's some TikTok on there. I see a little bit of X, a lot more of Facebook and Meta kind of across the board, which is what we would expect, I think. So happy to see that, it's kind of a good even spread. Let's jump in a little bit and think about why social media matters and why it matters in the fundraising landscape. I like to start all of these things out with some stats. So I'm going to share 3 stats that I think are kind of key and will help us frame today's discussion a little bit. The first one is 2 hours and 21 minutes, which is the average time that adults spend on social media in 2025 globally. I think that's a really interesting number. It sounds like a lot of time, and it is a lot of time. So definitely something for us to keep in mind. The middle number there, 93% of nonprofits have a Facebook page. I'm not really that surprised by this number, but I feel like Facebook and Meta are always that like company that has some sort of like rallying cry to boycott or to stop or some sort of like PR crisis. So it's always good just to kind of see who all is using what and where people are using or where people are kind of engaging with audiences and thinking about sharing their stories. I'm not the person that believes that you should be everywhere your competitors and your peers are, but I think when more than 90% of nonprofits are on a platform, it says a lot about that platform and not just being there just to be there. And then lastly, one of the conversations that I've had a lot this year with boards, with nonprofits, at conferences has really been around the concept of, is today's digital landscape purely a pay-to-play landscape or not? And so I thought this number was interesting. It comes from a nonprofit Tech for Good report, but more than half, so 53% of nonprofits do serve ads on social media. So whether that's like boosted posts, whether that's more traditional ads, lead gen ads, any type of ad, more than half of nonprofits currently are having some sort of paid spend across social media. And I just think that's an interesting benchmark to keep in mind. Jumping in a little bit, I like to think about numbers and think about generations and what that looks like. So I wanted to dig into the the idea that more than 2 hours are spent on average, because I think the perception there is often that it's majority millennials, Gen Z, and a younger audience. But there is some data that comes out and I think is really interesting. So the numbers on the side, on the left-hand side, are total minutes spent on social media, and then different generations are underneath. And so it is true that Gen Z spends the most amount of time on social media, about 200 minutes a day. And it gets lower and lower as audiences get older. But when you get all the way to the end, the boomer audience is still spending an hour a day, 58 minutes on social media. I think that's a lot. And that number surprised me. But when we look at a trend, and when we start to call things a trend when it happens 3 years in a row, we see the time spent by the boomers online and on social media increasing. So year over year, it increased 7%, which I thought was pretty big. But I think it's an interesting number for us to think about and to look across generations. To me, and I think, Lauren, you would probably agree with this, one of the things that we look at when we think about social media is not just like how much time people are spending, but how they're actually engaging and what they're doing. So I wanted to break this down a little bit because the same study that kind of tracks the amount of time also shared a little bit more context about how people are spending their time on social media. And so we're start kind of with this boomers audience, mainly because we see older generations are typically our larger donors, typically a big part of our fundraising community. And what we know about their social usage is that they are not like younger generations in that they're on social media all day or in and out of it all day for short periods of time, but that they like to spend more time in their sessions than other generations. So they might only use social media twice a day or once a day, but when they do, they're really doing a deep dive into social, and they're not just scrolling through content. They're not just kind of seeing what all is out there, but they're really looking for something to grab their attention, and then they dig deep into what that content is. Moving a little bit to the left, when we think about Gen X and how they use social media, they're using social media more for networking and really thinking about how they're learning things. So we see a lot of their usage center around LinkedIn, around YouTube, Facebook groups, some stuff like that, where you can really see that they are looking for that engagement and that connection. And then we get to a millennial audience a little bit farther to the left. And I think it was 5 or 6 years ago, everybody said like millennials are breaking all trends and millennials are doing all this stuff and it's going to be terrible and their digital behavior is not falling in line with older generations. And when we look at their usage, there's a lot of crossover with the older generations, a lot of crossover with boomers, a lot of crossover with Gen X. Millennials are spending their time online in fewer sessions in the early mornings and the late evenings when they have more time. So they're more interested in kind of the connections and the engagement, very similar to Gen X. They're looking at Facebook groups. They're spending more time on YouTube and using it to learn. They're spending more time on LinkedIn and networking sites as well. And then you get over to the Gen Z side of things, the youngest audience, and they really view social as a place of entertainment and a place for learning. And we see that because we look at their platform usage and we see that they are big on TikTok. They're big on video platforms like YouTube. And I think it's interesting for us because we might think TikTok is just, a dance platform or a video platform. But I once, not long ago, had a colleague who was in the Gen X generation, and her mantra was she loved TikTok. And her mantra was, if you're on TikTok and you're not laughing and learning, you're not following the right accounts. And I think we see that play out here. So, TikTok is what it is. But there's a lot of knowledge, a lot of information being shared there. And so we do start to draw some parallels across how all of these different generations, what they're looking for on social media. They're looking for connections. They're making social again. They're looking for engagement, and they're looking for learning. And we see that across the board, across all the generations. And I think it's important for us to keep that in mind as we're crafting some social strategies. Another thing that social media is great about is engagement. So when we think about this, we often think about social just as a distribution channel, a free place that we can post links to our website, to our blogs, all that type of stuff. But we're starting to see that people are shifting their media consumption to look for more educational content, to dig deeper into content, to form groups and gatherings, right? We see big growth around Facebook groups, around Reddit. We see lots of people congregating online and looking for a community of like-minded people, of people who are passionate about the same things that they are. But really, they're looking for engagement. And I think that, there's a lot of conversation right now about the digital age and are people more lonely now or are they not? And I think this is part of making social again, and really thinking about, are people able to actually connect with real humans online with the screen between us as opposed to just doing it in person? The other thing that we see is that video and images are increasing in usage. And so we see that across the space. And that really tells us that people are sharing more videos, they're sharing more images. If we look at the video and the images that are being shared, a lot of it is talking head straight to camera. It's people looking for connections. It's people really trying to learn and engage with others. So that's another kind of popular reason to think about social media. And then we also wanted to talk about the fact that social isn't just social anymore. It used to be a walled garden. So if you were a Facebook user, or if you were an Instagram user or a LinkedIn user, your content was there. That's kind of where it stayed. And I think today we've seen that not be true. So these are a bunch of headlines from the past 12 months, all of which so much is changing so fast. And as we think about things, we see that Google and search engines are now indexing Instagram and LinkedIn. That AI and chat is now using social media. I think it's the largest revenue driver of Reddit right now, is from training AI bots. And we see X doing the same thing. We see TikTok making its way into search engines and starting to be found there. And so it's not just that social media is social anymore. It's really beyond that. And it just is media that is meant to be social. And I think that that's an important distinction that we can't necessarily forget when we're really thinking about what we're posting on social and how long does it actually stay and where are people finding it and what does that look like? So as we kind of think about all the reasons to use social, right, we see that it's cross-generational. We understand that it's more of an engagement tool and an education tool. But we also know that it's content discovery beyond social. And we wanted to ask, and we wanted to understand a little bit more, how often organizations are posting on social. And there's not a right or wrong answer here. So whatever you say, whatever your truth is, I think that the number one thing that we've seen with social media is that consistency is key. So if you have a staff, if you have the ability to post daily, post daily. If you don't post daily. You don't get dinged for posting less. And what we've found, and this is one of the shifts in social media, is years ago, it used to be post more, just post more. The algorithms were showing what was newest. That's not the case anymore. And we've worked with orgs and done audits and analyzed reach of posts. And the findings actually are that sometimes you can post too many times and your individual posts don't get the same reach that they used to. So looking at our poll results, we see a good tie between daily and a couple times a week. And I think that is perfectly fine. I would say even once a week is fine. Lauren, I'm trying to remember how much you guys post every channel, but
yeah, we try to keep it as often as we can. Excuse me. Our Instagram and LinkedIn are our two main focuses. So we're in that couple times a week daily range for sure.
Yeah, nice. And I think that anymore, the thing that really sets people apart when it comes to social is not the frequency of your post, but it's really the quality of your post. So it's not about the quantity, it truly is about the quality. So I wanted to jump forward a little bit and talk just for a little bit about getting social media right. And I think all of this starts with understanding the goal and the goal of social and understanding how social media companies work. Social media companies want you to stay on platform. They don't want you to click off. So the goal with all social media companies in all social media is to stop the scroll, right? We were having a debate about this internally last week, I think it was. And the question came up, does anybody remember when you could get to the end of your IG feed? You used to be able to get to the end of it, right? And like you would see the thing that you saw the day before. And that's not the case anymore. It's an ever-present stream of content that just keeps going and going and going and going and taking you down rabbit holes. And that really demonstrates the shift that we see with the algorithms across the board. So the question really becomes then, how do we stop the scroll? And I think there are three keys that are true for both paid and organic social. The first being that, there it is, we need to be authentic. We see content across the board, TikTok, on X, on Instagram Reels, on Facebook, where it's raw, it's less polished. It really, you can tell it's shot with an iPhone, and it does really, really, really well. It's not just about the production quality, though, that makes things authentic. It's about the types of content. One of the things, Lauren, I love about y'all's feeds is that we actually see your staff. We see your C-suite. We see your executive directors. We see your team at camp. We see them all over the place. It feels very authentic and like there is that behind the curtain scene. And I also think that when you do that, you're also authentic because it shows your personality. And we see a lot of that personality and that tone in the voice in your feeds, but we also see it across the board. And I think that that's key when we're really thinking about authenticity, because social is social. People want to have that relationship with you. So I'll walk through a couple of examples here that I think are just really interesting and really great. And some of my favorites. I love the National Park Service and their feeds across social because they are incredibly authentic. If you've ever spent time in a park and you talk to a park ranger, they're going to be sarcastic. They're going to be very dry sense of humor. And that is what their social feeds show. It really feels like their social feeds are led by their park rangers. And I love that about them. And it really draws that connection between the real life experience that people have when they visit a park to the online experience that they have when they see the content in the feed. And at least for me, it always stops my scroll and causes me to smile, even if just for a second, and then go back to continuing to scroll and look for more content. Beside that, you'll see the two Instagram videos, the two reels from Feeding America. And I think they do a great job across all of their socials. But you'll notice that their videos are their supporters, their volunteers talking directly to camera. The guy at the top is wearing his gloves. He's serving a meal. He's behind a table. And the girl with her AirPods in is on her front porch. Those are just authentic moments of people talking about why they care and really creating that sense of community and creating that sense of FOMO and what that community equals. And then finally, at the bottom, the big screen cap is from Ronald McDonald House Charities of Lexington that has a TikTok going. And I love the fact that they have a TikTok, and I love the fact that their entire staff engages with it, from their C-suite all the way down to their interns. But I love the fact that they have a TikTok for a very strategic reason, at least in my opinion. And that is that they are closely tied to the University of Kentucky. So a lot of their volunteers, a lot of the influencers that they get are college kids, college athletes. Their top video there is college athletes. As you scroll through their feed, you see different opportunities and different videos with college kids. And as they are building their program, as they're building what does the future of volunteering look like, what does the future of the organization look like, they really have mastered and I think are doing a great job at using TikTok to engage with younger audiences. Not directly from a give me money now standpoint, but from a get to know our organization, get to know who we are, what we do, and the types of people and the people that you see every day that volunteer here, that stay here, that are a part of our mission. Also, it feels incredibly authentic to their staff. If you've met any of their staff, you really see their personalities shine through. So outside of being authentic, we need to make sure that we're being social. It's in the name. Social media is social. We just need to make sure that we're not using it as just a soapbox or a megaphone, a place where we push everybody off platform. We just share our side of the story. We actually have to find ways to engage with people, right? It's not just what we should be doing, but the algorithms actually limit our reach when we don't do that. So we actually see that if accounts just post links or they post content where they don't ask for engagements or they don't engage, that the reach is limited. So not as many people are seeing the content. And a couple of examples, I always just go to one example that I think is an organization that I love and I think is doing a great job. But No Kid Hungry from Share Our Strength, I think they are a master at showing their personality and being authentic in their posts. But then if you go to any of the comments of their post, you'll notice that they respond to nearly everything. This is a practice that they started back during COVID, I believe, when they viewed social media as a form of customer service and as a form of helping their community. And since that time have continued to evolve it to allow their community to feel like they're really connected to them. So positive comments, negative comments, they've built a system where they might not respond to everything right away. They might respond to it 3, 4, 5 days later, but they respond to a lot of comments and a lot of posts. And their community expects that from them. And their community jumps in and engages. And so when you start to see some of their comments and some of their threads underneath their post, they're 50, 60, 70 comments long in some cases because their community wants to have that engagement with each other, but also with the organization. And they've shown that they allow that and they encourage that. The last thing that I think is important is the value. Value is not just transactional, it's emotional as well. And so we have to make sure that the content that we're posting on social provides some sort of value. That might be a reason to stop. That might be a resource. That might be any number of things. We've talked about National Park Service and how they provide a comedic break. We talked about No Kid Hungry and how they provide an engagement opportunity. But I think there's also a lot of other examples out there that do provide real value. The big screen cap on the left-hand side is from the Holy Family Hospital Foundation. They're a maternity hospital in the West Bank in Bethlehem. And they literally show the impact and the value of your donation every day. And they show their roots. They are a faith-based org in a lot of cases because of where they are. And they don't shy away from that, but they show you the babies that are saved every day. And if you just want to see babies, lots of NICU babies, lots of babies that growing up in that region, you know, need their hospital to survive and thrive. They're there. And then across the top, just a few things from Ronald McDonald House Charities. They are showing value because they're showing them the family moments that they make possible. And they're really creating that connection because they do it in black and white. And it really stands out in your feed. And then on the bottom here, we do see from Nemours Children's Health, they own a whole website that is nothing more than providing value, kidshealth.com. And they use their socials to promote that alongside all the stuff that they promote on their website. So I know we're running through time very quickly. I'm trying to keep an eye on my clock. But paid and organic are different. They are similar in a lot of ways, right? They still have to stop the scroll. They have to make sure that they provide some sort of value. They have to be authentic and engaging, but they're really different from their goals. And I think organizations that master social media, Lauren, you and your team do a great job at this, but really thinking about, paid media should drive to conversions because we're paying to reach those audiences, whereas organic media needs to drive engagement because you're trying to get the algorithms to show you to more of your audiences. And you're really concerned about what that discovery looks like. But the two really work together. And it's okay to repost paid ads. It's okay to boost organic posts with a paid budget, because when the two work together, they really do maximize their impact. I want to give some time to Lauren to talk through some RMH SoCal stuff, though, and really share some examples of what they're doing.
Yeah, so just as a little bit of background of us real quick. So we are Ronald McDonald House Charities of Southern California, and our chapter is comprised of 7 Ronald McDonald houses, 3 Ronald McDonald family rooms, and Camp Ronald McDonald for Good Times. So we're actually the largest RMHC chapter in North America. So when it comes to our content, we really are juggling quite a bit. There is a lot going on all the time. So our strategy has to be really, really focused and really, really centered in our mission, or else we start to lose people, right? So something that we really focus on, as Joe kind of mentioned, is being authentic and showing the value of who we are. So you'll see in the middle there, we have Reese Shelby and her mom. And something we try to do very regularly is those impact-driven stories. It tells family stories. It brings in those big, cute, adorable faces like you see here. And it tells their medical story, but then how we're there to support them and to lift them up. And we're able to tie in our mission in a really authentic way that our audience really, really loves. We also try to have a really strong signature series. You see our CEO on the go there. Fatima, our CEO, is absolutely incredible on camera, and she loves bringing people into her world in an unscripted kind of way. So we do a regular series. I'll grab her at random events we're at. This one was from our all board retreat. And I'll have her just give a little intro, say, come along with me for the day. And people absolutely love getting to see our organization through the lens of our CEO, right? And you could do it with anyone in your organization, but having the people that make your org front and center really makes a difference. You're no longer just RMHC, right? You're now people, and people want to support people. You'll see our 7 houses in 7 days series here, which we just completed this past week to kind of supplement our Childhood Cancer Awareness Month campaign. And what we really wanted to do was welcome everyone into our houses as we would welcome in one of our families. So we have different staff members at every single one of our houses, welcoming you in, giving you a tour of the house so that you start to feel that personal connection with our organization, with the individuals that make up our organization. So we try really, really hard to bring in those impact-driven stories and also just the people that make our organization what they are, right? And of course, we always have to post those things that we don't necessarily always want to, or we know won't always perform super well, right? I'll post about donating cars every month or so, and they don't always perform well, but they're things that we need to get out there to get that information in front of people. But it's these sorts of storytelling, these sorts of authentic pieces of value that are really going to start to build your community and bring people back to your page.
I think, Lauren, I love the 7 houses in 7 days, because one of the things that I've heard over and over again working with Ronald McDonald houses across the country is that, and I've experienced this too, until you really walk in the door, like, you only kind of know what y'all do.
Absolutely.
And I think that was a really fun way for you guys to bring that to life. But
yeah, oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So we're in a pretty large Childhood Cancer Awareness Month campaign right now. We have a pretty hefty fundraising goal, pretty hefty marketing goals just internally. But we've had that same thing, right? We get a lot of, I don't actually know what my money's going towards. So we said, this isn't childhood cancer focused, but it fits into this campaign really nicely because it allows us to bring people into the doors, to see those smiling faces, to meet our staff, meet our teams, see all of the spaces that our families are enjoying. And it It might not have totally seemed on theme for Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, but it was a great way for us to set up kind of a bigger fundraising month. So that was kind of our thought process there, and it's been really great. People absolutely loved it.
Nice. I think a couple questions that I was hoping you would dig into a little bit too.
Mm-hmm.
How do you come up with your series that you do? Because you're CEO on the go, you're 7 houses in 7 days. I feel like y'all run a lot of these kind of mini campaigns almost organically, right? Like these are organic series. How do you come up with your ideas?
Yeah, so CEO on the go, I won't take credit for. My manager started that long before I was hired, but it's incredible. People absolutely love it. But something that we really do to plan our content is we really start with our development plan. So we would meet regularly with our development director to go through what her fundraising goals were throughout the year and then kind of work down. So she would say, we have September coming, it's Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. I want it to be aware. I want our marketing to be really awareness driven and XYZ, right? And then from there, I kind of work down to see what engaging ways we can on social media we can match her fundraising goals and her development goals. So that's kind of where we start. From there, we really try to listen to our audience, and that's when we found that they really love those strong storytelling pieces, and that's what brings them back. That's what people really engage with our page for. So we try to bring that in as much as we can. I think listening to your audience and listening to what performs well is really, really important, which is why you see us do so many of these video series, because we found our people love them. So kind of just, it's a mixture of things. We try to always be consuming media, as overwhelming as that can be sometimes, seeing what other people do, learn from it, learn from our audience, questions they've had, and just kind of go from there. And we found that being authentic on our page is really, really important.
Yeah, for sure. How do you go about listening to your audience? Do you use a tool? Do you use metrics? Like, how do you do that?
Yeah, so we actually don't have any sort of social media analytics tool here in SoCal. So I am doing everything by hand through what Meta or LinkedIn, what they'll give you, which isn't always a ton. But we really try to look at what people are engaging with. We may have a post that had a handful of likes, but our views are through the roof, right? Or our profile views or the follows that it led to are through the roof. So we can start to kind of see what works and what doesn't. That post you see up in the top right corner, it's actually our top performing post. Pretty much every single year we do something of the same kind. And if you look at it, it really goes against everything when it comes to Instagram in 2025. It's a single static image with not a single face, not a single photo. It's entirely a graphic, which if you were to Google Instagram 2025, that is like the biggest red no you'll ever see in your life. But our audience loves it. Our shares go through the roof. Our reposts, which is obviously new this year, it's incredible. So we look at things that just simply perform really, really well. It sounds really simple, and see how we can then grow and adapt that to future campaigns. So we do something like this for Mother's Day. We do something like this for Father's Day, for New Year's, because we found our audience gravitates towards it, really wants to share it with their community and help broaden our reach. So we really try to see which of our posts are reaching as many people as we can, are performing well in our community, but also leaving our community through those shares, through those reposts. Because at the end of the day, our goal when it comes to Instagram specifically is building our community. So for us, that's kind of where we start to measure our success.
How do you, last question, then we can open it up to other questions as well. But how do you, I know you said you kind of settled on IG and LinkedIn as two big channels that you're really focused around. How did you determine that? How do you know where to go? You're not everywhere, and I think that's totally cool and totally fine.
Yes. So I will say we do try to hit everything. We do post on Facebook, on YouTube. We're starting our TikTok account to try to build that in ways. But our two main focuses do tend to be Instagram and LinkedIn. And we really started with overall what our goals were for social media, right? And so we landed that our two main goals were building our community, getting people to see who we are, to see what we do, and to want to just be a part of our community, whether that's through dollars or just supporting us online, right? So that was goal number one. And goal number two was getting our organization in front of people that will be game changers for us, right? So when we look at those two things, that is what led us to Instagram and LinkedIn. It wasn't Instagram's fun and we can post videos there, we started with our overall goals of what we wanted to get out of social media and then kind of worked backwards.
Got it. I love that. I love that everything is kind of rooted back to goals and overall, not just from I feel like y'all do a great job of not just saying this is like a fundraising silo and this is a marketing silo and this is, but really connecting organizational goals.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, thanks, Lauren, Joe, for your time. I didn't see any questions come through the chat yet, but if anyone thinks of one while they're, reviewing the content, watching the webinar on demand, feel free to email us at info@truesense.com and we will get you a response, or I will get Lauren and Joe to give you a response. Also, if you want to let us know what you thought about today's webinar, it's a quick 5-question survey. We use those responses to decide what webinars we do next. So if you want to have an input on our 2026 calendar, or there's something you'd really like to learn more about from TrueSense and from our client partners, let us know and we'll add that to the calendar. So I don't see any questions in the chat. So thanks, Joe and Lauren. Oh, there one just came through. How do you view the actual donation from social media compared to social engagement? So how do you measure those two different things, the actual performance of a donation?
Yeah, so we don't currently have a way to directly tell, right? There are softwares and systems for that. So we kind of will just look at general timing to see, we did a big campaign this week and track our donations to kind of see that difference there. But we look at our campaigns kind of holistically. So we'll say, we did a really strong email campaign with social medias that matched it and backed it. So that's kind of how we'll look at it. There are better ways, obviously, to track those donations that come directly from socials. We're not entirely there yet at our org, but we do also look at them separately, right? So social media does contribute to our fundraising goals, but also we do just have those simple straight marketing goals. So we look at them separately as well, because while something may not lead to a ton of donations, it may have really grown our community on socials. So it was still a very successful piece of content. So kind of the both.
Both and.
Yeah.
Yes.
For sure. I would say also, we talk a lot about channels of influence here at TrueSense. And one of the things is that we know is that part of what is influential is the amount of time that you spend on a channel. And so we often try to draw and look at some of those parallels. We do go in and look at Google Analytics and look at attribution. So are you coming back from social a lot? Are you not coming from social a lot? What really is the media mix that we can tell because you've engaged allows you to be encouraged to support and to donate.
Yeah. Attribution's could have a whole conversation about attribution. So that's longer than a quick bite. That'd be a long bite.
A whole meal.
Yeah, a whole meal. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So what KPIs do you use to measure success then? Click-throughs, views, comments, new followers, all of the above?
Yeah, so obviously we're always looking to grow our community. So we do look for those follows and our overall reach. But it does also just depend campaign to campaign and what our overall goal is, right? So for our biggest fundraising event of the year is our Walk for Kids. So in that sense, we are looking for click-throughs. We're trying to get people to sign up to register for our event. But for something that's a little bit more awareness focused, like we have been doing for Childhood Cancer Awareness Month on social, we're really just trying to get people to consume our content, to learn about childhood cancer, to learn about our organization as a whole. So I think it really depends campaign to campaign. But we definitely will sit down and kind of talk about what those goals are as everything comes in. But we obviously are always looking for our followers, looking for our overall reach and our engagement. I feel like those are the three main ones that carry us through. But click through and things kind of depends on where we are in the year.
And I think from a paid standpoint, we're a little bit more straightforward with the paid that we run for y'all. But it definitely is a lot more measured around, are we seeing a return on ad spend? Are we seeing people click? We measure both view through and click through so that we're able to say, you know what, this post is what's really engaging from a paid standpoint. But we also think a lot about, what is the content that Lauren and team are putting out and how does the paid content support that? And I know when we work with y'all for Walk for Kids, there's a lot of reposting between what you guys do, what we do. There's a lot of kind of shared content for a unified voice there. And I see the second question there about lookalike audiences and other audience modeling. We do a lot of lookalike audiences from a paid standpoint. We do lots of different segmentation of those audiences though. So we might not look alike a whole donor file. It might look alike the donors who give $500 or more for a campaign, or the email addresses that we have that haven't yet given if it's more of an acquisition campaign. So we do a lot of audience lookalikes and then layer our geographic and our demographic stuff on top of that. And then for other campaigns, we are using some of the interest tagging and things like that as well in the platform. But we try to start a lot of things with using lookalike audiences and using files that we have.
Well, thanks, Lauren. Thanks, Joe, for your time. And thanks, everyone, for being on the line today. And we'll see you all hopefully in a week.
Thanks, y'all. Bye.